And so did you pre-prepare double stuffed Oreos? I love you so much right now. So my topic this week has to do with staying relevant. And the reason I was thinking about this is, well, I mean, we're in a medium where YouTube is in like a weird, tumultuous place right now with advertising, and people are constantly changing how the content's done. Every YouTuber, if you want to, or content creator, depending on how you want to label them, that's also a weirdly ambiguous term. But like people who make things on the internet are constantly changing how they do it. Their platforms are changing. YouTube might not exist 2 years from now. We may need to move to another platform. So I was just thinking, like, how do we stay? And also, just getting older, I'm not as plugged into the media anymore. And as someone who considers himself a commentator on things, somebody who likes to, I love doing stand-up. Don't love it anymore. It's a little bit tough to stay on that wagon, but a lot of my friends do, and I like writing sketch comedy, and I like just being online and being plugged in. And so I was wondering, how do you guys stay relevant, like just in general, but also inside of a creative field? Like, how do you stay plugged into what's going on, what the new trend is in your chosen field?
Yeah, sure. So what I have done with the escape rooms is kind of go a little counterculture. Escape rooms now, they went hard at technology. Like, you're going in and you're doing stuff on a computer, and then like you type in a code, and then like something's opening over there, like a whole bookshelf full move or something like that. It's amazing, and it's super cool when you do it. But what I have done, if I'm going into a boardroom, I don't have time to install a movable wall. That's not in the budget. Yeah. So what I've done is kind of go a little counterculture and say, I'm going to stay relevant by giving people something that they're not getting anywhere else. And it just works that that is something that I can build and I can make. So it's people putting things together, and it's people doing more puzzles like that, and less of sending a text to here which is going to open this, or rewriting a code for a computer and doing that. And I think the more things change, the more things stay the same. If you look at suits from the 1910s for men, you look at that and an expensive suit then, you look at it and be like, well, that would still look fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Because the fundamentals don't change. Everything around the edges change, but the core style.
Yeah. Mohair might not be as popular anymore. Thick wool.
Yeah, but the shapes and the cuts. If you jumped into Frank Sinatra's suit, you'd be like, oh, that's a good looking guy.
It's a good looking suit, yeah.
It's a good. Well, no, not even a good looking suit. That's a good looking dude.
Yeah. My buddy's a jazz singer, and he basically just and this is not a knock on you, Mike, but you basically just, when he goes on stage, he first set he's in whatever suit he's got, and the next time he goes out he's in another suit. You could put them on Frank, it would look exactly it looks like he's just grabbing it right now.
I would not wear Frank Sinatra's suit. It reeks of urine and scotch.
But so staying
don't get me wrong, great music and
gang money.
Gang money. But for me, I try to stay relevant and doing kind of new things that people haven't seen before, but staying in that vein of but this is what people have always wanted. So really staying in that whole people want to be challenged, but people want to succeed at those challenges. So I try to do hey, what's a weird way you haven't been challenged before that you can succeed? And I feel no matter how you do that, at least in the escape rooms, people are gonna like it and enjoy it. And I'm not really sure how that transfers into stand-up comedy or web design, but
no, there's something that the moment you got onto your point there, I think I connected it to everything I do, where I'm just sometimes there's and we do almost live in an ever-growing culture of boutique, right? Where it doesn't matter if you have the biggest audience, because there's so much audience that whatever you do can be relevant to someone. It doesn't need to necessarily be. And the world's just getting bigger. Your connection to everyone's getting easier. So you'll find your audience, I think, sometimes if you just go like if tomorrow we were like, well, we only do a show about a podcast every week where we talk about a Van Gogh painting, that would eventually find its audience, but it wouldn't be relevant, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
the question might almost be, maybe it's not necessary to stay relevant, but like I don't know. I like that. I think that's a novel way of approaching things.
Yeah, I look at it, I mean, to add to what you said there, the way I look at that is it's the difference between style and fashion. You know, fashion always changes, but, you know, style doesn't. You know, style is always going to be needed.
Yeah.
And so when I look at, you know, with my business, everything's always changing. You know, you can go to these websites and build your own website in 30 seconds, and there's no secret to how it works.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's, you know, our secret sauce that we add to the things is the keeping up with the trends, knowing how people are using their devices, knowing how people are interacting with each industry, and saying, well, this is what they expect, let's give them what they expect.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not so much about creating that design or that fashion that is going to draw people in.
Yeah.
That's a whole extra layer on top. That's great to have, but if you don't have the underlying style and the substance that's going to get people where they need to go, there's no point in doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is staying relevant,
Yeah.
is more so keeping up and making sure that that style or that underlying purpose is always going to be there for the people who are there for that specific, you know, what is the problem I solve, what is the thing I'm trying to get after, and staying true to that.
What about you, man?
I think often I don't stay current, and it's a weird double-edged thing. I'm evoking a television producer I knew one time, and I tried to stop him one day when he was in and out of the office, and I was saying, I want to do this thing, I saw this new show, it's called Departures, and I want to try this thing like that. Have you seen that show? And he looked at me and he said, I'm producing like 3 television shows. I don't have time to watch television. And I just thought, that's interesting. Like, he's making cutting edge television, but he doesn't have any time to watch television. Okay. So yeah, often for a long time I was like, oh, I haven't seen this, I haven't seen that, I haven't watched this latest thing and that latest thing. And eventually you just have to sort of give up and know that you know the lexicon of the voice you're trying to speak in, or sometimes you don't. And either way, you can like sort of riff on something and improvise if you know it well enough. And sometimes you get the song totally wrong because you're like, I've done many video edits where it feels right in the time, and then you watch it back and it's like, oh, that's 5 minutes of like super fast cuts, and that pace would work for a 30-second long promo, but in a 5-second video, it's just like you're causing epileptic seizures.
Well, it's funny. Like I think like sometimes like for that guy, it wasn't important to stay culturally in tune because he's working in the industry. He doesn't care what culture says is good. He works in making things good. He practices good. Like, to him, it's like, whoa, that's good. That's fine. So is what I do. And that's absolutely, I think, a valid approach. Especially when you're working in something like that where your show has a message, and as long as you understand the culture around that message, then you don't need to be watching TV. You need to understand what message you're delivering. Like as a comedian, I found that I wanted to stay in touch with what everyone was doing, but the more comedians you watch, the more you're like, wait, am I stealing someone's? Did I hear this somewhere, or is this my idea? And then you start getting this sort of schizophrenia about whose voice is really in your head. Is it yours, or is it some other guy who was really funny that you tucked away for later and then brought back up when you were sitting down with a fit of writer's block? It's a double-edged sword staying caught up with what other people are doing, because then you start stealing. Anyways, well, do you guys want to say anything else before we wrap it up?
Do you get to answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think I answered, like I said, it's so much, there's so much to keep up with that you gotta really remember what you do and stay true to it.
Yeah.
And I think getting what you said, Dylan, there's a quote, it's from like the 1800s, and it says, if a man preaches a better sermon or builds a better mousetrap, even if he builds his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his door. And it says, and it just says like, hey, if you do something really, really well, like people are gonna find it. And like people are gonna take what you do and they're gonna say like, that is good. So, whether it's relevant or not, because it's such like a niche society now, people are gonna find out, like, people are gonna find quality.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really important. So if there are any creators out there, if you look at it and be like, hey, what I do, like, I think it's really good, but like, you know, maybe it's a little ahead of its time, or maybe it's, you know, it's a really niche audience. Hey, like, get it out there. That's the great thing about the internet. It brings groups of people together. So.
Yeah.
I always really struggled with those comments/compliments. He was not complimenting me, an old boss, who I wish I could talk to and tell him how badly I had the wrong attitude in that job. But he used to always tell me, you're trying to be too smart for the room. You're too smart for the room.
Yeah.
And I
You
tried
hear
to
that
tell
in
him,
writers' rooms a lot too.
and I was pitching jokes for a television network, and I was trying to tell him, like, I'm trying to be esoteric. I'm trying to create like a joke where somebody's gonna kind of laugh and think maybe it's funny, and maybe I have to check it on Wikipedia. And he was like, well, no, that's not the point. It's like either they're gonna get the joke or they're not gonna get the joke. So we had differing opinions on that, but I feel like
And it's a very like Archer technique. Like there'll be a joke on Archer and you'll be like, I didn't understand that. I need to go spend some time on Google to figure out what was funny about that last comment.
And the esoteric literary references from the 1800s also. It's like, yes, they'll make reference to cutting edge culture in Archer, and then they'll be referencing stuff, and you're just like, is it Byron or Shelley?
Or like the father of the modern gnome or something like that. You're just like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh,
How did I not know that? Ah.
all right. Well, we're gonna go out on Archer this week. Before we go, one more time in case someone's just catching this last part. Herman Melville?
Yeah.
Moby Dick? Is that Moby Dick? I don't know. I'm
I
not.
think that's Bartleby the Scrivener is definitely the one that's referenced in Archer, at least.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Before we go, in case someone's just watching this one, what do you guys do, and where can they find you?
Cool, yeah, no, I guess I'll go first this time. Bob Campbell, I do web design, internet marketing, you name it, help your business succeed on the internet. You can see me at gemweb.com, or if you want to read my stuff, bobcampbell.ca.
Yeah. Philip Craig, if you want to talk to me about Haiti and all the stuff happening in there, feel free to find me on Facebook. Also, if you're looking for an escape room or something to do, maybe team building, anything like that, also find me on Facebook at either Philip Craig or at Custom Escape Rooms.
Right on. And for you folks watching the Cahoots, if you've been watching every week and you haven't subscribed, go subscribe right now. We also are on Twitter, Cahootsent, at Cahootsent, and Instagram at Cahoots Entertainment. And go like us on Facebook, leave a comment, do whatever you like. You're a free individual. You can do whatever you want, but we really appreciate it. So,
And like Lord of the Rings.
I didn't realize that. We might need to change that. Stay tuned. All right, thanks guys.
I'm bacon, I like Oreos.